Good evening, Chair, committee members, Barry Levinson, longtime resident. You know, the good citizens of Fullerton have been participating in our city governments for decades, but too often our voices have been ignored by the Planning Commission and by our City Council. On important issues concerning the overdevelopment of Fullerton with high density and or high-rise residential units, our Planning Commission members act more like visitors to the town, usually showing more concern for the developer's interests than ours, as demonstrated by the 5-0 vote for the original DCSP by this board. We all know this committee is stacked with pro-development members. You show it every time. There is no denying that, and that bias is something that the City Council needs to address as soon as possible. I know there is one member of this committee, Chair Shanfield, who is not an automatic vote for development. I urge you, Chair Shanfield, as the good and fair person that I know you to be more vocal in opposition to these projects that require zoning changes, usually from retail commercial to high-density residential, whether it is in the form of mixed use or not. There are so many reasons to be against these high-density projects in our town as it currently exists. Reason number one, projects such as this one, which requires a zoning change from commercial and industrial to mixed-use residential or to residential, is a bad financial deal for the taxpayers of Fullerton. For the health of our tax base, the city should know that commercial space provides more tax revenue normally than primarily residential development. This city, in past meetings, has acknowledged that we are very underrepresented by having currently only about 6% retail commercial property mix in the city itself. The proposal here tonight will only help to make that mix even smaller. 3, we are still suffering from a 5+ year drought, which has greatly impacted anyone who has property with plants or grass. Yet the city wants to add new development, which will only make the demand for water that much greater. That's the only thing that's important, the total usage of water, not how efficient a particular unit is. It would seem that those who plan to vote yes for this and other new projects apparently do not care about our current sacrifices, since your vote will only make our water shortages worse. 4, the issue of traffic, horrible roads, and overcrowding will only get worse if you continue to approve these high-density, multi-story developments. In conclusion, from a financial, drought, and a quality of life positions, these developments make absolutely no sense for our community, and I urge a no vote.
Mr. Levinson hit it right on the money, and so did Mr. Ferguson. And I want to add to some things here. I'm glad somebody showed up from the chamber, because what Mr. Irons brought up is a really sad indictment of our Chamber of Commerce's dismal, miserable failure to attract a gold mine to our community. Every morning, I drive through Buena Park. Buena Park courted, catered to, and captured the Korean business model. I don't know why this council has not managed to get in on the action. My wife's Korean, and when we go shopping, we have to go to Buena Park to the Hanam chain grocery store. Why do I have to go to Buena Park? Fullerton's on the map in Korea. Sunny Hills High School's on the map in Korea. So we have all this property that's been run into the ground, and the only people making a killing are the bar owners. And so we want to bring in some more customers for them. You know, back in the 80s, when I was in school, I had a lot of friends that had their own pads because, you know, back in the 80s, you could get your own pad with a minimum wage job. And, you know, these parking standards that were established back in the 80s, when you could get a pad with a minimum wage job, are the parking standards that we're using now when housing's been commoditized to kingdom come by interest rate manipulations. So you're going to have a 2-bedroom place with 6 people living in it. And so all these illustrations, according to Mr. Wong, with his qualitative analysis, don't show any cars on the street and all these virtual reality displays that he had. It looked to me like New Year's morning at about 7 a.m. after sunrise when everybody's in bed with a hangover and nobody's on the road, because that's what those illustrations look like to me. It's not accurate. It is not ethical to push a product like this and claim that this is the solution to that area's problem. The problem with that area is city planning. The problem with that area is our Chamber of Commerce. And the solution is more jobs, not less. The solution is courting people who want to come here and set up shop so people can go out and get a job and not have to drive 100 miles to work. And we don't have the water, and we really have to look at what we're doing. No one is looking at the big picture here. And I have to tell this gentleman, Mr. Wong, this is a beautiful project. It's gorgeous. I really believe it is. And it saddens me that he has to come here and